Welcome into the Logan Ward Show here on 12 Ounce Sports Network. Glad to have you all in on a Tuesday. Loaded show for you today. We're going to talk about Aaron Rodgers, the situation that's going on, and why you would be upset too if this was the situation you were in. We'll talk about that. We'll also talk about LeBron James, the coaching that he hasn't gotten. Would he be any better if he had any coaching? I'll talk about that as well. And then a little later on in the show, we're going to get into what it means to be an all-time great and what it means if you're in a situation where you're an all-time great. Would you be able to switch eras? We've had a lot of conversations about that with The Last Dance coming out. Oh, would LeBron be able to play in the 1980s and 90s? Would Michael be able to play in this day and age? So we'll talk about that coming up as well. Glad to have you all in here on a Tuesday. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at Logan B. Ward. You can also follow the show at Logan Ward Show. A lot to get into today. Super excited about the stuff we got for you today. It's interesting that when we talk about sports, and that's what I do every morning. I talk about sports, and every night I'm thinking about talking about sports, and every day I'm thinking about what I'm going to be thinking about later on when I'm talking about sports. But it's interesting that sports is kind of a little niche area. Sports is a little minuscule part of the population, and sports is something that we tend to think as fans, we tend to just kind of write off, and we don't really think about these situations happening to us. And so I want to give you this scenario. So say you're hired by a company. You're hired by a company and you're an assistant manager. You're hired because you are going to be a manager someday. You're going to be a manager, and they hire you because they want you to be groomed enough to be able to be the manager a little years from now. 3 years later, you actually become the manager. 3 years. You become a manager. You worked hard. And now this is your branch. You do everything that you can. Over the next 15 years, you have one really good year, the best year that the company's had. The best year that the branch has ever had. It's a fantastic year. You have one great year. You have a lot of really good years. You have a couple bad, but not terrible. But you have a couple bad years. But you're either really good or you're great. Your performance is fantastic. But you have concerns. You have things that you want to address and needs that you need to address as a company. But corporate won't give it to you. Corporate won't give it to you. You've requested different things. You've requested reasons and about trying to get more employees. You've requested different aspects of your job that would significantly help you get to where you need to be. And corporate won't listen to you. Won't listen to you. They just aren't listening, and they're not giving you what you need. They're giving you more of the same stuff that you've been dealing with. And then after 15 years, they go out and hire your replacement. They go out and hire an assistant manager that Dave said, you will be the manager. You will be the manager in a couple of years. You need to learn under him. They hired your replacement. Didn't listen to any of your needs. Anything that you've requested. Anything that you've asked for. Anything that you said, hey, this would be really good to have. They didn't listen to it. They hire your replacement. That's the exact same situation that Aaron Rodgers is in. And Aaron Rodgers has every single right to be upset with Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers has a right to, if he wants to try to demand a trade, I wouldn't be mad with him. Let's think about this. In the 15 years that Aaron Rodgers has been the quarterback of the Green Bay Packers, there's only been one time where they had a top 5 defense. Only one have had a top 5 defense. That year, they won the Super Bowl. Since 2005, the New England Patriots. That's a pretty good team, right? Since 2005, the Patriots have only had one time since 2005 where they were not a top 15 defense in the league. Last year, they were the number 1 defense. They've had multiple top 5 finishes in defensive efficiency, top 10 and top 10 in points scored, top 10 defense in the league. The Patriots have surrounded Tom Brady with weapons, except for the last couple of seasons. Last year didn't really happen, and guess what happened? Tom said, I'm out. I'm not doing this. But Aaron Rodgers had won a top 5 defense once, and he won a Super Bowl. They haven't drafted a skill player, a wide receiver, or a running back since 2005 when he was drafted in the first round. They haven't drafted a skill player in the first round since 2005 when Aaron Rodgers was drafted. Their next pick, their next skill position player in the first round was this year with Jordan Love, a quarterback. They don't address the need of wide receiver. This is a top-heavy wide receiver draft. Didn't draft one. Instead, drafted your replacement. Last year, they lost in the NFC Championship, and they couldn't stop a nosebleed. They were terrible. They were outscored, I think, 27-0 at halftime. Couldn't stop anybody. Don't address defense with any of the first 3 picks. The Packers had probably the worst draft in the NFL this year. And Aaron Rodgers has every single right to be upset with Green Bay. Every single right to be upset with Green Bay. Because you would be too. If you're a manager of a branch and you are asking corporate for certain things, you keep asking them for certain things to help you better your performance and better the company's performance, and corporate won't do it, and then they hire your replacement, yeah, you'd be upset too. Aaron Rodgers has the right to be upset with Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers has earned that right to be upset with Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers has done everything that he could to put that team on his back. Aaron Rodgers last year got that team to 13-3 in an NFC title game. I don't think anybody really thought that the Packers were that good last year. But Aaron Rodgers should absolutely be upset with Green Bay, and you would be too if you were in that situation. Let me switch to this. So the Last Dance documentaries came out. The third and fourth episode came out this last week, and it was a lot about Phil Jackson. It was a lot about Phil Jackson and Michael Jordan's relationship and how Phil Jackson worked. And it dawned on me, and I started thinking, look, Michael Jordan didn't win anything until Phil Jackson got there. Doug Collins was a great coach. Michael Jordan was a great player. But he wasn't an all-time great. Doug Collins wasn't an all-time great player. He wasn't an all-time great coach. Jordan, under Doug Collins, has won an MVP, an all-star MVP, a defensive player of the year, was a scoring champ. All of these accolades. Couldn't win. Couldn't get past the Pistons, couldn't get past the Celtics, couldn't win championships. It was when Phil Jackson came in, and we know Phil Jackson's an all-time great coach because he's won a championship at the CBA. He was coaching in Puerto Rico and won. He coached 6 championships with the Bulls, 5 championships with the Lakers. We know that Phil Jackson's an all-time great coach. But it wasn't until Phil Jackson got there that really the legacy of Michael Jordan began. And so I started to wonder that we have all these players that have had all-time great coaches. Michael Jordan had Phil Jackson. So did Kobe Bryant. We have Magic Johnson, who was with Pat Riley. All of these great players had most of them had really great coaches. Greg Popovich had Tim Duncan. He had Kawhi Leonard early in his career. Kawhi Leonard, if you don't think that he gained any experience and gained any knowledge and was able to he got great coaching in Greg Popovich. He didn't like Pop all the time, but he got great coaching with him for his first couple years in the league. That's helped out. But LeBron's never had that. LeBron's never had that. Never had that all-time great coach. And if LeBron had that all-time great coach, would he be better? Maybe. Maybe he would have more rings. Maybe he wouldn't. I'm not sure where this would have been. I mean, there was rumors and there was talk about when LeBron left Cleveland and went to Miami. There was talk that maybe LeBron was going to go to the San Antonio Spurs under Greg Popovich. That would have been something special. That would have been pretty cool. But LeBron felt too big for San Antonio. And I don't know if LeBron would be better with an all-time great coach, but it's an interesting thing because he didn't have it. He's never had it. We've never seen LeBron James with an all-time great coach. Frank Vogel, Eric Spoelstra is probably his best coach he's ever coached under. Ty Lue's a pretty good coach, but not one of the all-time greats. LeBron hasn't had that. Michael Jordan went from Doug Collins, who's a really good coach, to the greatest coach in basketball history, in Phil Jackson. It helped. Kobe Bryant the same way. With Phil Jackson, it helped. You understand that. And Phil Jackson obviously has gotten some help in his legacy with being with Kobe Bryant, with being with Michael Jordan. They're kind of similar play styles. They both, you can run the triangle with both of them. But Michael had to remember, look, this is part of a team. I can score 50 a game or I can win championships. And I think that with LeBron's never been Michael. LeBron's never been like Michael. That was Kobe. LeBron's never been like Michael. LeBron's more Magic than he is Michael. He wants to distribute first, score second. If LeBron wanted to score 50 a night, he could. But he doesn't want to. He wants to distribute the ball. He wants to get the ball. He wants to start the offense with the team. If you're in a system, if you're getting all-time great coaching and you're in a system with LeBron where you have an all-time great coach and LeBron would understand, hey, this is best for the team. We need to do this. It's an interesting prospect because all of these great stars, all these all-time greats, as Magic Johnsons, the Tim Duncans, the Kobe Bryants, the Michael Jordans, they all had great coaching. All had great coaching. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar had Pat Riley. All of these players, great coaching. LeBron is the one player, I think, that you can say, okay, all-time great, never had all-time great coaching. Never had an all-time great coach. Ty Lue, Eric Spoelstra, now Frank Vogel. Not great. Not great. Coming up next, we'll talk about the news and highlights around the sports world. What is going on? Some of the headlines around the sports world. We'll talk about that coming up next here on the Logan Ward Show on 12 Ounce Sports. Are you looking for a new sports book that provides the easiest deposits, the fastest payouts, and the best customer service? Well, then look no further than MyBookie. MyBookie strives to deliver on providing a creative, always expanding selection of sports odds for players at all levels. As a MyBookie player, you'll get the industry's most rewarding loyalty program. With payout request processed in just 48 hours, has hundreds of casino games and great bonuses on every deposit. You can join MyBookie today for a 50% sign-up bonus up to $1,000 using the promo code 12 Ounce Sports. Welcome back to the Logan Ward Show here on 12 Ounce Sports Network on a Tuesday, April 28th. You know, a lot of things are happening in the sports world. A lot of things are going on, and I think that, you know, we're in a weird spot. Not a lot of sports on, so we're kind of just waiting to see what happens with sports in general. And so we're in a weird time where we're sports talk hosts. We're kind of in this little niche area where we don't know a ton to talk about. You know, I saw a video yesterday, and it absolutely irritated the mess out of me. You know, I think that there's a difference between a sports analysis and a sports talk show host, and it frustrates me when people lump sports analysis and sports talk show host together. Skip Bayless is not a sports analyst; he's a talk show host. Colin Cowherd is a talk show host. Stephen A. is a talk show host, not an analyst. An analyst is Dan Orslowski. He's an analyst. Chris Collinsworth, analyst. There's a lot of analysts in this world. Colin Cowherd, Stephen A., and Skip Bayless are not one of those. They are not. Nick Wright, he's a talk show host. That is not the same thing. Their job isn't just to tell you the facts and give you this. Their job is to give you opinions and to entertain you. That's the game. That's my game here. My game is to sit here and talk in front of this microphone and entertain you for an hour. That's the game. It's not to give you analysis over games. You go get that somewhere else. If you want diagrammed plays, go get that somewhere else. I can't do that. I'm not going to do that. My job is to entertain. My job is to give opinions that people want to listen to, that people would like to listen to. I try to pride myself on not being wishy-washy. I try to pride myself on not being hypocritical. I have my beliefs, and I have what I believe in. I believe that LeBron's a better basketball player than Michael Jordan, but that's not going to make me not, I'm not going to go back and forth on that. But it's just, it's wild to me when you see certain things. I saw that video yesterday. People were talking about they're the worst sports analyst in all of television. They're not analysts. They're not analysts. They don't give you analysis. They give you opinions. They give you a talk show. That's what they are. They're there to give their opinions for your entertainment. And you can't tell me that nobody watches. You can't tell me that nobody watches these shows. Let's get into the news around the sports world. Let's get into what happened last night.
Let's start right out. Hey, what happened?
Missed last night's action? Don't worry. We got you covered.
He throws it across the field to Dyson.
He's got something.
30,
He's got
40,
something.
50,
He's got it.
40,
He's got it.
20, 10.
He's got it.
End zone. Touchdown, Titans.
What happened?
What happened? Brought to you by Jazz Sportsbook. Still lots going on. We still have lots of things going on. So I mentioned yesterday the talk about NBA teams being able to go and practice if their cities allow, and I didn't really buy it. One, I think the competitive advantages of that is kind of wrong. If Atlanta's able to practice, but say California's not, or New York, the Knicks aren't able to practice, or the Nets aren't able to practice, but you can in Atlanta for 3 or 4 extra weeks. I don't think the competitive advantages is that high, but also we got to be able to know what's going to happen with player safety. I live in Texas. Our governor came out and said yesterday we're going to open up the country, or open up the state back in part of this 1%. They're phase 1, and we're going to open up malls and restaurants and movie theaters, and it's going to be 25% capacity, and you're going to have to be spread out, and we'll see what happens. This is a test run, and there are going to be people that are going to go out and do things, and there are going to be people that aren't. And, as a league and as an organization, you've got to be able to definitively say, look, our players are safe. Our players are safe, and their families are safe. If you can't say that, we'll see what happens. I think that, one, the competitive advantage is not great. The competitive advantage that you'll get with this, being able to practice in Texas, Dallas would be able to go to the facilities and practice if Dallas were able to go, but New York or California is not able to go. What's the competitive advantage of that? If we're trying to give you a couple of weeks to prepare for a playoff, possibly in June or late June, early July, we'll talk about that. It's the competitive advantage of being able to get 2 extra weeks of work in at the facility is pretty heavy. Not everybody has a home gym. Steph Curry doesn't have a home gym. He doesn't have a basketball hoop at his house. So, he has to go to the facility to work out. And if he can't work out and he can't get shots up, and, Luka Doncic in Dallas can, the competitive advantage is not great. And I think that is something that is also being talked about. But also player safety. Is it safe for players to get together? Or is it going to be a situation where 5 people can go into the facility at a time, and you got to work out a schedule of who's going to go up and when? And then you're going to have sanitization workers in there cleaning. We'll see. But the Los Angeles Lakers, they have been in contact with the Los Angeles mayor's office to discuss the possibility of opening up their practice facilities for players before the current shelter-at-home order in L.A. residents expires on May 14th. This is because the NBA announced that it will allow players to return to team facilities for voluntary workouts starting May 8th, and they would love to do that instead of May 15th. Lakers Vice President of Basketball Operations and General Manager Rob Pelinka, Frank Vogel, has conducted a call providing a basic outline for the protocol players will have to use once the team gets the green light to host workouts. And we'll see what happens if that's the case. I think my playoff plan is perfect. I think my NBA playoff plan is one that you look. It sucks to suck in this situation where you can't. There are teams out there that aren't going to make the playoffs. Just get your top 2 seeds of each conference and go play. Start with the Western and Eastern Conference Finals, and be done with it. The NBA gets everything that they want. NBA fans get everything that they want. I'm sorry you're not going to have Denver being able to play Oklahoma City. Doesn't really bother me. Doesn't bother me at all. So I'm of that nature of just, if you can get it done in that manner. If you can start in June and July with no fans, and look. If the NBA uses a plan that's like mine, where you take the top 2 teams, look, it's going to be Clippers Lakers. They're in LA. That doesn't change anything. You're in LA. You're going from your house. You're going from your house to the facility. You're going from your house to the arena. You're in LA. You're both in LA. That will work fine. Now, when the finals comes, you'll have to change a little things. With Milwaukee going to Toronto, you'll have to change some things. But I'm all right with a 4-team playoff, going at it like that, making the series 5-game, Western Conference 7-game, and rolling. Having a 2-game. See, if you, this is what I would suggest if you did it my way. And I've said this before. You can go to my YouTube page and click on the NBA playoff scenario that I put out there. If you did this, you did 2 teams, 5 games series. You're limiting travel for Milwaukee and Toronto. You have the first 2 games in Toronto, the next 3 in Milwaukee. You're limiting travel. You're not going back and forth across the country, cross countries. I think it would work, and I think that would be perfect for the NBA. I would consider it. I would absolutely consider that, because when you think about it, that has everything that you want. It has all the big names. It has the 2 MVP candidates. It has the defending champions. It has LA versus LA. It has everything. It's perfect. This is a weird year. High school seniors aren't graduating. They're not going to prom. This is a little different. This is a weird year. So to ask the NBA to be a little different, sorry about it, Dallas. You were a 7 seed, not making the playoffs. Sorry about it. There are a lot of people out there that are missing out on things. There are a lot of people out there that are missing out on important events and milestone things in their careers. This is one of them. Top 2 teams of each conference go play the Western and Eastern Conference Finals. You have the Battle of LA. You have the 2 MVP candidates. You have the defending champs. Perfect. It's perfect. But the Lakers say they're trying to get into contact with somebody about possibly working out before their stay-at-home order is released. So Zion Williamson said he hasn't been taking a break in quarantine, that he's ready to go and ready to play basketball. He's staying ready. He doesn't want to get ready, stay ready, so you don't have to get ready. He said that he said in the quarantine style of life, he said that he just hoops. So, look, I like Zion. This is probably a really weird rookie year. I like Zion. I think he's going to be really good in the next, he'll be a franchise-altering player for the Pelicans. He'll be must-watch TV for the next decade. So I'm interested to see how his career ends up. But, Zion's staying ready so he doesn't have to get ready at this point in time. If my playoff plan was to happen, he wouldn't be in the playoffs, but I guess it's better to be safe than sorry. So in that situation, he's staying ready. He's trying to get in. He's fully recovering from a knee injury. He's trying to get in peak shape of his career so that he can be ready for if they come back and they have a season for him this year, or if it's next year, he's going to try to be ready for that. Here's something that came out yesterday with the Last Dance documentary. We saw Isaiah Thomas of the Bad Boy Pistons. We saw him being really he was regretful of not shaking their hands, and because of the media scrutiny, and he knows what it was. And look, Bill Laimbeer said, "Nah, I'm not with that. What do I have? I have no regrets. Why would I have regrets? Nothing I did was wrong." So Bill Laimbeer straight up said, why would I need to be regretful? Here's Bill Laimbeer on the jump talking about this.
In 1991, the Bulls finally got over the mountain. They beat you. And the documentary details how you in particular were the one who told your teammates at the end of that series, "We're not shaking their hands. We're just leaving." What do you remember from that?
Well, just that. They whined and cried for a year and a half about how bad we were for the game. But more importantly, they said we're bad people. We weren't bad people. We were just basketball players winning. And that kind of stuck with me because they didn't know who we were or what we were about as individuals in our family life. So all that whining they did, why shake their hand? They were just whiners. They won the series. Give them credit. We got old. They got past us, but okay, move on.
Do you regret now not shaking their hand? Do you stand by that?
No. Why would I regret now today? I don't care what the media says about me. I never did. If I did, I'd be a basket case.
So that was Bill Laimbeer. I love it. What does Bill Laimbeer have to regret? What does he have? That Michael Jordan went on to win 6 championships? Okay. That wasn't Bill Laimbeer's fault. They won 2 championships. His goal was winning. Why would he regret not shaking hands with them? Because Michael's holding a grudge all these years later? Okay. And look, I mean, I get it. I get it. Why regret this? I think that Michael probably has more respect for Bill Laimbeer than he would Isaiah Thomas in this situation, because he said it in the documentary. He said it. He said you can't trust anything because he's had time to think about it. He's had time to think about it. He's gonna change the narrative. That's what Isaiah Thomas did. He came out and said, I regret it. If I would have known, I would have changed something. Bill Laimbeer said, I don't regret it. I can almost guarantee you that Michael's like, well, at least Bill Laimbeer's like, yeah, I did it, and I don't regret it, and I'll do it again. Look, Michael was petty too. Michael's petty. Bill Laimbeer's like, I don't regret shaking their hand. They were calling us all sorts of things. They were saying that we were bad people, and we weren't. We were just playing the way that we knew we could win. So, look, Bill Laimbeer came out and said that. I love it. What does Bill Laimbeer have to regret? What does he have to regret? Nothing. Not a thing. Not a thing. I want to switch to this real quick. So there's been a lot of talk about this Last Dance documentary, and it's fantastic, and I'm all in on it. And Michael Jordan is an incredible player, and to me, like I said earlier, LeBron's never been Michael. Their games have never mirrored each other ever. Kobe modeled his game after Michael Jordan. Kobe Bryant was Michael Jordan with baggier shorts. Even their career trajectories were kind of the same. At the beginning, Kobe was this athletic, hyper aggressive. I mean, he was dunking, hyper athletic, just mayhem on the court. Then he switched over to the artistry. He switched over to the fadeaways and the getting to the rim, using both hands, the layups, the fadeaways. The same thing happened with Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan came into the league and was a freak of nature physically, athletically. So, same thing with Kobe Bryant. They move in, like Kobe had Shaq to start out. Then once Shaq left, he kind of had to change his game. And when Phil Jackson and Scottie Pippen were there with Magic or Michael Jordan, he had to change his game a little bit, and he had to change the way that he played. So LeBron and Magic, to me, are more similar than Jordan and LeBron. Their games never correlated. The games never. Yes, you can see certain aspects of it, but LeBron is so much bigger, faster, stronger. I mean, he's a wrecking ball. He's not, and he's a distributor. Kobe, Michael, they're scorers. Kevin Durant is a scorer. LeBron is a lot more than just a scorer. Magic was a lot more than just a scorer. Magic probably could have averaged 35 a game, but he was playing, he wanted to distribute the ball. Same thing with LeBron. Same thing with Larry Bird. Those guys wanted to distribute the ball, move the basketball around, and have kind of the beauty of the basketball. And I'm not saying that either one's right or wrong. I'm just saying that they're different styles of basketball. They're completely different styles. LeBron and MJ, their styles of basketball don't correlate. So we can sit here and debate all the time about who's the greatest of all time, and we can talk about numbers, and we can talk about championships, and we can talk about Hall of Fame all-time numbers. But their games were never the same. Their games have never been the same, and they'll never be the same. LeBron's the same size as Karl Malone. That's incredible. LeBron James is the same size as Karl Malone, who in the Western Conference, him and John Stockton dominated the West for a couple of years. And let me tell you, Malone couldn't move like LeBron. LeBron's running down the court, full steam ahead, jumping out the gym. LeBron's a physical specimen. LeBron's a different cat. LeBron and Jordan physically, they're not the same. They're not really the same. They don't look the same. But this is a situation that we see, we're talking about Jordan and LeBron. We're talking Jordan and LeBron, and their games just, to me, never correlated. Never. They're not the same game. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I want to talk about, I'm still getting into this Last Dance thing. There's something to me that I just don't understand. I don't understand it. I'll try to figure it out and tell you what it is. That's coming up next here on the Logan Ward Show on 12 Ounce Sports Network.
For the marching exercise, you want to sit down in the center front of your chair, bring your feet shoulder width apart, and form a 90-degree angle with your knees. From here, you're going to lift one foot and raise the opposite arm, just as you march in place in your chair. Make sure you keep that core nice and tight and you breathe in, and also maintain good posture with a straight back.
DrinkAid, ready for distribution worldwide.
That's what's needed to get to that next level. I'm Rob Pennell, and I'm going to teach you how to be an offensive machine.
Nothing makes us happier at Lexington Law than when our clients cancel our services. Listen to this client call and see what we mean.
Lexington Law Firm, this is Erin.
I would like to cancel my account.
I'm sorry to hear that.
No, don't be. Actually, you guys have done tremendous work for me, and I was working with you for several years now. And my goal was to get a mortgage written by the end of this year, and I just got that mortgage commitment.
That is wonderful.
My credit went from like 440 working with you guys to 700.
Nice.
And I got a very good 4.25% 30-year fixed rate mortgage. I have nothing at all bad to say. If you ever want me to write a testimonial, well, I will. As a matter of fact, I've recommended you to a lot of friends.
Lexington Law has served over 500,000 clients, taking expert action on their credit that has led to the removal of millions of questionable negative items from their credit reports. Call now and learn more about how Lexington Law may be able to help you in the removal of negative items from your credit report, such as collections, late payments, charge-offs, and many others. Call Lexington Law today.
Welcome back to the Logan Ward Show here on 12 Ounce Sports Network. Be sure to follow 12 Ounce Sports Network on all the social medias. You can also follow me at Logan B. Ward on Twitter. You can follow the show Twitter handle at Logan Ward Show. It's interesting. We're a lot of talk about eras now, and especially in the NBA with the Last Dance documentary coming out. A lot of talk about that. And what and would other players work in other eras? And to me, I think yes. I think that a lot of these all-time great players would be able to work in other eras. Michael Jordan in today's game would have worked on his three-point shot, would have been able to get to the rim, probably would have averaged about 35, 40 points a game. I don't doubt that. I think that it's interesting because we talk about on-the-court stuff. And on the court, we see, I think, Jordan would have been fantastic in today's era. Off-the-court stuff, I think Jordan would have struggled with Twitter. I honestly do. I think Jordan would have struggled with Twitter and the constant media pressure and all of that. I think he would have struggled. You saw it in this last episode of The Last Dance. He knew what beat writers wrote that they were going to lose the conference finals against the Cavs, the series against the Cavs, and he went up to him and said, "You're wrong, you were wrong, and we're going to prove you wrong tonight." He knew who wrote those articles, and he knew their predictions. So he was listening to the media. If that was today, if he was listening to today's culture, with today's sports talk host, and today's Twitter, I think he would struggle with it. I think he would be pissed off all the time. Oh, I think he would absolutely struggle with it. LeBron, I think LeBron would probably be a little bit better in terms of, he's grown up with the scrutiny. He's grown up at 18 years old. He was the chosen one and on the cover of Sports Illustrated at 16. I think that he would have been able to handle the scrutiny of the 1980s and 90s, where it was the newspapers that were talking about you, and you didn't have cell phones, and you didn't have a thing where I could literally just grab this, look at Twitter, and see what people were saying about LeBron James and Michael Jordan right now. I think that it would have been a struggle for Jordan in this era off the court. On the court, absolutely not. I think the same thing about LeBron back then. I think he would have been fine back then. Everyone's like, well, he couldn't handle the physicality. If he knew it was happening, if he knew that that's the way the game was played, absolutely he could handle it. LeBron's 6'9", 250. He's the size of Karl Malone. He's bigger, faster, stronger than everybody. He's faster than Karl Malone. He can jump higher than Karl Malone. He's more skilled than Karl Malone. And he's the same size, just built like a truck. LeBron would have been able to handle the physicality if that's what the era called for. We've seen LeBron even in his career. His three-point percentages have gone up in the last couple of years. from 2010 to 11, he started working on his shot, and you saw his three-point percentages go up. He went from shooting about 330 to 320 to shooting 360, 380, 38%, 40%, 32%, and that's going up from when he was shooting 32% in his career before. So he worked on his game. He shot more threes than he had. LeBron in the last couple of years has shot more threes than he has in his entire career. Why? Because the game's called for it. The game's changed. The game has become a three-point driven league, and he adapted to it. The same thing, I think, for Michael. Michael would have been able to adapt to three. He would have probably shot a better percentage from three than what he did in his career. Why? Because that's the NBA. That's what we do now. It's the floor, the spacing is a lot different. You got to be able to hit three-point shots in today's NBA, and I think that Michael Jordan would have been able to do it. I think that a lot of these Hall of Fame players would have worked in other eras. Magic Johnson probably would have worked on his threes a little bit more. He would be able to work. He's LeBron. He's a smaller LeBron. He can get to the rim. I think a lot of these players would have been able to work in most eras. That's just the way that I think. It's more about the players, how they're wired, their strive to be great. I think that's really the key. That's what makes Hall of Fame players great. The on-the-court stuff, the intangibles, we've seen players. Penny Hardaway was a great player. His injuries kept him back from being an all-time great. Tracy McGrady's might be a Hall of Famer, but he's not to the level of a Kobe Bryant or Michael Jordan. I think that the desire to be great would work around all eras of the NBA. That's going to do it for us today. Tomorrow we'll talk a little bit more about the NBA. I've never understood it, and we'll talk about it tomorrow. I've never understood why NBA Finals losses are considered a worse loss than a first or second round playoff exit. Never understood why it's different and why people would prefer to lose in the first or second round than lose in the finals. Never understood it. Makes zero sense to me. We'll talk about that and a lot more coming up tomorrow here on the Logan Ward Show on 12 Ounce Sports Network. Y'all have a fantastic day.